Another component of information is here for you, and that component is on tithes and offering. What is tithes and what is offering? Today we are going to make a very critical reference to Malachi chapter 3, which is where it has always been lifted from in the Bible. And I'm reading right now from there. Malachi 3, verse 10. Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in my house, and prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing, that there shall be no room. There shall not be room enough to receive it. That is the expression in Malachi concerning tithes and offering. Now, I like to say this before we continue. That thing is, when it comes to God, when God is who we are talking about, and you are listening to his expressions, there is no question of how did he know. Because I would even ask you at this moment, it will seem like when you meet somebody who doesn't know you, he doesn't know your name, he doesn't know where you come from, he doesn't know your house, your family, your people, but he's asking you what's your name, and you tell him your name. How would it sound like when the person would ask you again, how do you know that's your name? You know it's crazy, it's funny. Your name, that's the name your parents gave you. He doesn't need to know your parents. He doesn't even need to meet anybody who knows you. Just for you to have told him what your name is should be enough for him to believe you. But he's asking you, how do you know that that's your name? That is what it sounds like to ask God, how did you know? God will always know once he is God. That's why the greatest work that we have, the greatest work any man has, is making sure you put out every effort to be sure that who you are meeting is God. That's the effort we put in before we are telling you what we are telling you today. You can't imagine how many years we've spent before you are hearing our voices today. Now, we started the journey a number of years ago, more than a decade, to be able to know, to be sure, yes, that's what we are dealing with. And so we know. So you are going to be hearing some expressions, some very detailed explanations. But explanations don't make anything, they don't make any difference. You are just explained to. That's why when we explain these things to you, the way they come out will make you understand that they are not coming out from an ordinary man, because we have not had any man showing us these things this way. That's also what makes the difference, because they get into that part of the heart that shows that truly this is how to identify who God is. He's different from all of us. His expressions are different. And that's the effort you need to just know. Once you can verify that this could be nothing else, nothing short of God, then the rest is a walkover. Because everything that comes out of him, you can be sure you don't need to understand it. No man needs to understand God before he follows God. But every man needs to know it is God before you let down your guard of understanding. Because it is only with God that you can let down every guard and still be safe. In fact, you can't be safe with God holding on to any guard. You can't. Any personal guard, you can't. What are you suspecting God about? What are you misjudging him about? Nothing, because he will do everything just the way it will be good for you, even when it is not what you like, because God doesn't do what you like. You end up liking what he does. But when he has to do it, it's not what you like. It is what is right that he will do, even if you don't like it. But if you let him do it, you will see at the end where the result is. Because it is always with God better in the end than the beginning thereof. That's because God's beginning doesn't start appealing, because he does not want and he doesn't want any Dick and Harry to come and just enter into his program. No, he screens by reason of the approaches he begins with. So here we have read from Malachi 3, verse 10. Bring ye all. Let's stop there first. Bring ye all. You know, when he's giving all the descriptions and the techniques of the Bible expressions, we begin to see that, the languages we speak, it is the Spirit that gave to us. The expressions we use, he gave to us. The brain we are using, he gave to us. The spirit we have, he gave to us. The soul we have, he gave to us. The bodies we carry, he gave to us. Every design of creation that we are enjoying today, he gave to us. Whatever it is we are looking at as an invention that we provided is what he gave us the capacity to do. What exactly would he want to do for himself through us that he won't have every technique to develop it? So we come to terms with these issues and know that, he is supreme over us. So that expression that he started with, he said, bring ye all. If you want to rephrase it, you just see that what he says is all of you bring. All of you. Bring ye all. You know, when we now go straight into the reading, by reason of the imagination in our head, because we went to school, we learned English, we could read, we know what the English expressions mean, we think we are reading English from the Bible. The Bible is not English. It only sounds like what we understand. But in the reality, it's not what we understand, because it is written by the technique of Hebrew. Hebrew then, on the other hand, is not a dialect that belongs to the Hebrew tribe of Israel. No. It is a technique. Before they took it as a name, before it's identified to a particular tribe as a language designation, it is first a technique that the Spirit initiates. That technique means it is only he who spoke a word that can interpret to you what the word means to him when he spoke it to you. So no matter how the Lord puts his expressions, it is him to whom he has granted that he will be whispering them to, and is releasing them to us for us to understand how they were written, the purpose for which they were written, what is hidden as secret in how it was written. And that's why we have to listen to God. So here comes the expression. If you read it direct, it says, bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse. So it sounds like he's saying, bring all the tithes, but it's not all the people that he's talking to. But remember, when every human being on the face of the earth has need to have access to God, there must be something that gives every human being that access. So he is talking about, first of all, from the first sector of that statement, bring ye all. In other words, redefined, re-expressed from his intent is all of you bring. And this thing is bring. The word bring is very significant. Bring. He didn't say pay. He said bring. Bring ye all, which means all of you have a privilege to have what I've given to you that will grant you the opportunity to bring. To bring. So bring ye all. All of you bring tithes. To the storehouse. What's the storehouse? First of all, the storehouse is the house of God where the information, the spiritual information is stored. When you are talking about the house of God, you do not talk about the house of God as a physical human structure. No, the house of God, everyone that knows who God is, that believes in who God is knows that the house of God is a spiritual entity, which is the body of man. So before you can have the house of God, or as a people gathering, which you call the church, the house of God is the church. The church is the house of God. And the house of God is a human body. The church is not a people first. It's not a gathering first. Before you have a gathering, it begins with a person who attracts the gathering. So the house of God is not the people who gather. The church is not the people who gather. The church is not the people who gather. The church, as the house of God, is the entity, the body in which the Spirit first introduces His presence on arrival. So that is what is referred to as the storehouse. The storehouse is the first house that forms the storage of the information of the Spirit of God in a person. And by that significance, that is the only spot that every human person is now privileged to go and deliver his tithes to. In that sense, what is tithe? It is going to be explained in the sense that you will now see the difference, the upside down operation of the present day human church in terms of what tithe means to them and what offering means, and what tithe actually refers, the Spirit refers to as tithe, and what the Spirit actually planned and referred to as offering. Now he said, bring ye all the tithes. He said, all of you bring the tithes. Now, if the tithes definitely becomes something that everybody is supposed to have access to, so that it will bring everybody to God, if tithe is money, then it's not everybody that will have access to God. And God cannot be so unfair that He puts down a standard such that it is not everybody that is privileged to have access or to have it. That would deprive some people from gaining access to God. But when it's God, everybody is meant to be privileged to have access to Him when the time appears. Therefore, tithe is a substance that every human body, every human person is given to have. The question now is, what is that? I'll just answer it straight. There's no ceremony to it. There's no too much explanation to it, because it's what the Spirit of God knows and He has shown us. Tithe is the heart. And every human being is given a heart. And that's because the Spirit knows that He gave every human being something He calls tithe, that will give every human being the privilege to have access to God, to have the opportunity to have access to God when He makes God to appear. And that appearance of God, the introduction of God in the people, in the midst of an existing people, is the establishment of the storehouse of God, which is where the information that you go there for will be found. Now, what makes the tithe the heart? Or what makes the heart the tithe? This is what makes the heart the tithe. When the information storehouse of God is established. Because when God arrives as a spirit, you don't get to God's house and you see material resources. Who brought them? When you are the first person coming. Let's say you are the first person who have to gain access to God because of the information that is there. And it's the information you hear that makes you know He's God. It's not the resources you see there. You don't come to a house of God and it's the resources you see. You see cars parked everywhere. You see, God doesn't deal with cars now. Is it money you see with God? God just arrives as a spirit. He does not arrive with anything. It is the information of God in the body he is speaking from. As strange as they sound, as new as they sound, and as powerful of a sense that they make hitting you in that hard spot. That's what makes you discover is God. So it's the connection from your heart to the information coming from the man that has the Spirit of God that tells you this could be God, because the information is different from what I've ever heard. It's your heart that is processing all that. And your heart is only a part of your entire possession. Your heart is a part of your entire body. But it is also your heart. It is with your heart that you have attachment to all your possessions. All your physical, material, human possessions. It's your heart that you use to gain hold on it. Everything you are laying hold on, you are having attachment to, is the heart you use to attach to it. It is this same heart you will use to go to God's house, to be able to use your heart based on the fact that that's where he plants the seed, to now listen to the information from the storehouse and use it to know that that information identifies the fact that that must be a spirit distinguished from the rest of men. And that will be God. Therefore, you will discover every man has a heart. And that is the tithe that God has given to you, that when he brings his spirit, the Spirit of the Lord has given you that heart, so that when he brings his spirit by God, he will now use that connection to drag you to the place. And you are going to listen and process what you hear there from your heart, which is the tithe that everybody must bring to the storehouse. Therefore, understand that the tithe is not money. That is why he says, bring, not pay. In church, they tell you, in the present day human church, they tell you, pay your tithe. But the Bible instruction didn't say pay. When you say pay, it's money, it's commodity. He didn't say pay. He said bring. When tithe is paid as a commodity, you can send anybody to take it for you. But when the tithe is the heart that you have to bring, you cannot give somebody anything to bring for you. You will bring. Bringing is mandated by you who is carrying it. You bring it. That's why the beginning says, bring ye, bring ye, bring yourself, bring yourself. Bring it yourself, because it's attached to you. So tithe is not money. Tithe is the heart. It is the heart because of the seed that is planted there, that when the Spirit signals you and takes you by reason of help to bring you to the storehouse, listening gives you an opportunity to assess properly that it is God. So when you get to the storehouse with your tithe, which is your heart, it is the information, because God, the storage of God's house is spiritual information, is not material resources. So it is the spiritual information you hear from the storehouse, which is from the mouth of the Spirit of God in a person, that tells you this person is not ordinary with us. This is God. Therefore, at the moment that you have realized that this is God by your tithe, because you see, the Spirit does not expect you to be mumu. He didn't create you like that. He gave you a sense of responsibility and help that he uses to assist you to assess things according to the purpose of what he wants to achieve by you. So when you get to his house, he releases information that will be connecting to instincts he has created in you, and you'll be putting judgments together to actually come to terms with the fact that this can be nothing less than the Spirit of God in a person. This is God. And when he allows you to make that assessment, you are weakened. That is just a first part. That's why they tell you tithe is 10%, tithe is 10%. The heart is only a percentage of your whole body. Where they got 10, that is where I would not make any statement about it, because the Spirit knows how to induce certain kinds of confusion. And you just see men acting out of confusion without knowing exactly what's working in them. That's the Spirit's own to determine. But what we have come to know is that the heart is only a part, which can be equated to only a percentage of the entire human body. So that's what even carries you to the house of God, and everybody has it. But it is meant to be what the part of you that will enable you to access God first. Because with God, once is God, submission to God is everything. Everything you have. That's why I said the heart is what is also used to attach to every possession of yours. All the material possessions is your heart that attaches to it. Every attachment you have to whatever you possess that you like so deadly is your heart that attaches to it. So when he has been able to attract your heart, and you come to terms with the fact that with what your heart have analyzed, that's God, the next thing that comes to your head without thinking twice is, I have to surrender all my life to him. The question now is, can you surrender your life to God without everything that you own? It's impossible if it's God. But is it that he needs your property? No, he doesn't need your property. You can be where you are with it. But the surrender is that the administration you have been carrying out, which forms the basis of the crisis you face, he is now taking over the administration to show you how you administer anything you hold. That is the significance of you being a Peter that have come to him, that he has to wash your feet, because he has to now show you how to walk with those feet. That is the surrender. That is the offering. So tithe is a part you use to go and identify whether it's God first, because he didn't create you as mumu. He created you in a way that he will help you to give you understanding, so that when you are giving in yourself, you are not giving to the wrong path. That's why the surrender you people have given to men have caused you to have the disappointments you have had, because you didn't wait to meet with the God. When a man stays in the house and decides to carry his material to the house, to church, the present day human church, to say, I'm going to give to God, let me explain to you, that move interprets the significance of the fact that the man who collects that thing from your hand is supposed to be God. But the difference, the problem now is that you don't have the capacity to identify it, because there's no God yet. But the men are presented to you as a deceit form to see when the real thing comes, whether you continue to hold on to the deceit. Because everyone now says, deceivers have come all over the place. There have been false prophets. We keep having false prophets. The question is, the fact that there have been false prophets, does that eliminate the fact that once in a lifetime, the true prophet will appear? And yet, you have given so much to the false prophets. Now you have the true. And that's when you are still holding on to. That's when you are now too smart. So you see, that move is that I'm going to give to God. You didn't say I'm going to give to man of God. It's now when you get the man of God will now show you, because he makes you feel that he's a representative of God. God does not have a representative. He is always himself in every form of personality. He doesn't choose a representative. That is why the person with God, with us, is not a man that is appointed to represent God. No, he is God with us. And every instruction he gives, every directive he gives is a direct expression from the Spirit of God. And he is God, because you can't separate him from God. That is an express move, express exchange from God. Therefore, when you have come to the house of God with your heart being the tithe, to identify who God is, the next thing that follows is surrender, submission. That is what embodies the word offering. Now let's evaluate the reasoning this way. The introduction based on the findings, the proof, and because that's the period of proof. That's why it says, bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse and prove me. That's the time of proof, because it does not want you to surrender blindly. You have surrendered and suffered enough in the hands of men. But because it's the same pattern, but different significance, he wants you to verify that before you do it. So he says, prove me first. But you don't have the capacity to prove God. You are man. Your experiences are of man. So what exactly is in you that you use to prove God? That's because he's waiting to help you, because he's the one that will bring out every measure that he will use to show you and give you the conviction that you are not in wrong hands. It's him, because he will not trick you to any form of danger. He is God to help and save you. So it is in him that it is to prove to you that he is. You don't have what it takes to prove to him, but see how he made the statement. Just like when God calls you to say, come, let us reason together. The question is, what do you have in you to reason with God? You don't. So what reasoning are you bringing? What part of you are you bringing to reason with him? You discover that he is bringing everything about the reasoning, which will help you understand that truly this is help from God. That is why it tells you in Ecclesiastes, when you come into the house of God, be more ready, be more willing to be silent and listen than render the sacrifice of fools. With God is silence. That's why we say, we are in the presence of God. Let there be silence. So with God, you come in silence. So when you have now been helped to prove that it is God you are dealing with, offering is what follows. And nobody has to tell you what to do. Offering is everything you hold, because that's where the help does not eliminate anything that you are holding. That's why he tells you to have eternal life. To the rich man, he tells him, go and sell all that you have and give to the poor. If you see that expression, the poor is God, because he's the owner of heaven. He doesn't lack what to eat. He doesn't lack clothes. He doesn't lack he doesn't lack anything. And he doesn't need anything from you. So it's not the material resources you go to sell. If you go to him, he will show you what it means to sell everything. It's not material resources. It's not property. It is all about you. And therefore, offering is all of you. Now let's get the reasoning through to see the upside down operation of the present day human church. For the human church, they tell you, tithe is 10% of everything you earn. Not realizing that everything you are is that man that you are giving 10% that gave you everything you have. Everything. He created you, gave you a life, gave you a soul, gave you a spirit, gave you the brain, took you to his resources that you harness. What is it that you are sitting on that is not his own? And then you say it's 10%. That is the thwarted part. But he gave you that to carry so that when he's coming to correct it, he shows you he's supreme. So I'm not condemning you. I'm not judging you. I'm just saying it's a program that he has subjected you to follow. When he now says turn over, it is just for you to turn over. No need to be arguing. No need to be stubborn. Because what you face you with, you cannot stand it. Therefore, the thwarted version of the human church shows you, when you run a contract or whatever you earn, you say 10%. Of course, you know when you have 100, 10% is just 10. If you have 1,000,000, 10% is just 100. So calculate it from there. You see that every 10% is the smallest portion. You have the highest. So that's the smallest portion. Upon the fact that is the smallest portion, 10% by reason of where it's calculated from is a fat envelope. So when you have 100,000, 10,000 becomes 10%. So the envelope swells when you put 10,000. When you have 1,000,000 and 100,000 is 10%, when you put 100,000 in an envelope, it's swollen. So it's big money. So when you carry that tithe into the church as 10%, swollen big fat envelope, that's 10% for God. Then they say offering. And then offering becomes, like you are just saying, God, let me just add jara for you on top of this 10%. 10% is a fat envelope, but I can add something. Maybe you put your hand in the pocket and just collect like 500 or maybe 200 or maybe sometimes 1,000, maybe sometimes 2,000 just to add to the 100,000. So you see, when you look at the program of the Spirit concerning tithe is the heart, and the heart is the smallest part of the body you use to confirm God. Then when you confirm that is God, the next thing that is offering is the biggest part, all of what you own, you and all of what you own. That is what it is. It is you and all of what you own. It is not any percentage anymore. The tithe is the heart you use to go and listen to know is God. Once you confirm it that this is genuinely God, what follows is offering. Offering is the largest part. But you see, check out what it is in the human church circle. Tithe is the percentage that is swollen. Then offering is the small part you add to it. But spiritually, according to the program that designs life to return to you, tithe is the smallest part. Offering is everything. Does that not make it clear to you that the entire system has missed the path? This is not just limited to the religious sector. Even the general human sector, because it's about life, it's about every human person. There are other components that have their own details to help you see that the entire human generation is out of place. That is why it says, all the foundations of the earth are out of place. All. He didn't say some, part. No, he didn't say some, he didn't say part. He said all. What will it take for you to understand that there is no headway in this struggle that you are already seeing that has come to an extreme, except you find the one to whom it is given, that we are saying now, he is around us. He is in this ground, on the ground. What will it take you? How much would you lose before you know that it's enough? Do you want to lose your living also? You want to lose your life also? Only because you have experienced false prophets. Listen, the experience of false prophet is also a strategy of the Spirit to test how humble your heart is. Because the fact that you have met false prophet does not mean that you have to, in yourself, judge the fact that there can never be a true prophet. Are you the one that is releasing the prophets? Were you the one who released the false prophets? He released the false prophets in a bid to test people like you who can develop proud minds, because he doesn't want anybody to develop any proud mind, irrespective of the circumstance of the situation that gave rise to what made him to develop that kind of judgment. You should not develop a proud mind because of what has happened, because experience, if you want to use experience to make a best teacher to you, make sure every experience is new. Don't use the old one, because if you use an old experience to judge a new one, you don't know what is waiting for you in the new current experience. So if you want to use experience to get a good lesson, make sure that every experience you give it a chance. You don't use old experience to close the chance of a new one. That is how experience is the good teacher. But when you want to say experience is the best teacher by using old experience to judge a particular new situation because of old experience, you close chances of the possibility of meeting the best ahead of you. This is the much that I can contain on behalf of us at this session. This component should also help you. I hope you had a good listening.